Horde Hunters is a survivors game where you slay thousands of monsters on thrilling missions to save humanity from a looming demon onslaught. Or at least that's what the game description says. It's set in a dark fantasy world and is very similar to Vampire Survivors, but without the lore or context that made that game so special. While it might first look like just another Survivors clone, there's actually a lot to like here, so let's dive deeper in our Horde Hunters review. Let's start with the basics. The music is good, and it has a retro chiptune style. The pixel art is drawn well. And despite drawing inspiration from Vampire Survivors, Horde Hunters is not just a straight rip-off. And I found myself playing way longer sessions than intended because the game's actually fun. There are various missions on each map, from collecting water to put out burning buildings, to going in mines to get gold, collecting apples from apple trees to replenish your health. And in that sense, there's always something to do in Horde Hunters. The objective of the level is always clearly defined. For example, in the village, you have to fight the boss at 20 minutes. And that's nice. You know roughly how long you have to survive, and you can also hire people to fight alongside you, including a dog, which is a nice touch. In its moment-to-moment gameplay, Horde Hunters plays out very much like Vampire Survivors and every other Survivors game. You roam the map as your chosen character. The enemies and hordes you face get more strong over time, and you have to last until the boss turns up, at which point you have to defeat the boss and then you beat the level. Of course, there are things to do along the way, especially in Horde Hunters. You can try to close demonic rifts, you can go to the pub and spend money, you can mine gold, and you can even go and try and help out people like farmers who are having their farms attacked by the demons. All in all, the gameplay is what you'd expect from a Survivors game that's this similar to Vampire Survivors. There's really not a lot to say about Horde Hunters gameplay because we all know what it is and says, and it's on the screen right now. One negative is that the game doesn't really signal how close you are to leveling up when you collect gems very well, and the menu screens in the game are a bit confusing as to what the different currencies do, or the XP points, and how your meta character levels. I worked it out in the end, but I just think everything's a bit unnecessarily convoluted. There are 9 characters to unlock in total and play as. These include a mage, a ranger, a warrior, and all the other genre staples. There are overall upgrades you can do over time to your characters to increase their strength, which is what you'd expect from a Survivors game. There are 6 maps right now, ranging from farmlands and deserts to mountains and volcanoes. Horde Hunters' main campaign plays out across those maps, but there's also a missions mode that contains 9 standalone missions, and some of these have their own maps just for them. Then there's the Endless mode, which aims to see how long you can last against the horde of demons. Needless to say, replayability in Horde Hunters is excellent. Now, the developer contacted me as this game is imminently coming out of early access, and there have been major updates over time, and it's nice to see a solo developer keep working on their game and keeping the promises they originally made to their community. So, this is a review of Horde Hunters in its finished state. But, after spending time with it, should you spend your hard-earned money on it? Ultimately, yes. Horde Hunters is similar to Vampire Survivors because it has epic fantasy vibes, but the thing is that's pretty much true of all games in this genre. There's not a lot you can do to evolve the already established formula here. Even Achilles Survivor, which I gave a 9 out of 10 in my review, doesn't vary greatly from what's on offer here. With that in mind, I do have to point out that this game retails for around $1 to $2, pounds, euros more than Vampire Survivors, which is currently $3.99 for me. This game is $5.89. So if you haven't played Vampire Survivors, then in all honesty, that game is the better buy, because that's the one game you actually have to play in this genre above all else. However, if like most people, you've played Vampire Survivors to death and still crave something in the same genre, then Horde Hunters is a solid buy. Even if it doesn't really add anything innovative to the genre overall, Horde Hunters is a fully polished and finished game at this point. And the fact that even though I've recently played a bunch of Survivors games, yet still found myself addicted to Horde Hunters, pretty much says everything you need to know about the game.